Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to your reading. I hope you appreciate that I moved you up my wait list a lot. I know your sister confided in me some very tragic and unfortunate. I mean, there's no words to describe, and of course, I'm not gonna speak openly about it. Um, Even though it is an anonymous reading, we're just going to stay with the fact that this individual has experienced trauma, secondhand trauma that no one should ever have to experience even once. And in this case, it's happened twice. Actually, when I say that, I think it's important for if anyone does end up. I mean, I do get people who do watch these on YouTube. It's important to speak about this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to literally change the name. I'm just going to change your name. So, okay, one sec. Yeah. So, what was it asking me? Washington County, PA. It already was set. 40. Okay, so we're good. Okay, so I am going to, okay, in one really quick second. Okay. So, all right, we are good. I'm just checking really quickly. Okay, so that. Okay, that's weird. Okay, found a way. Let's get to it. So, all right, guys. So, I just want to say that this individual, who of course will remain nameless, has experienced death of very, very close people firsthand 2 times. And when we look at a chart, a birth chart, my goal isn't to look at this chart, and there's some cognitive bias. I forget the name, where what is it? Confirmation bias, like where if you're looking for the cause of something, it's not basically like if I'm just looking to figure out like what in the chart shows this, it's a lot different. I'm still going to do this chart in the way I would do a normal chart, but I just want to say that I feel for you to have at a younger age lost or experienced let's just say it, the killing of parent, and then also recently of a kid, so, I believe it was a son. So I feel immense responsibility to give you the best reading possible. I moved you up my list. Your sister is a great person and a client of mine. And I felt like I can feel your pain, and I just had to do this. So what I've done, obviously, like, this is very sensitive information. I've just put like 2 letters basically. So let's go ahead and share the screen. And you're not going to see my face right now, but basically this is what the chart shows. So I want to kind of just say straight off the bat that 25 degrees Leo. I want to read something I found about that. And this is like, I've been kind of researching. So you have your black moon Lilith there, which isn't a planet, but it does represent darkness. So 25 degrees of Leo is violent, and some who have this are in prison for violent crimes, especially those with their chart rulers on this degree. In addition, this is not a good degree for a planet to be on a predictive chart. Problems will result from this placement according to the affairs it rules or house it's in. This is in house it's in. It's the frickin', it's so close to the IC. It's in the 3rd house, but it's so close to the IC, which rules, family home and whatnot. So it's right down there, right on the very, very like family part of the chart. It's a very strong degree of alcoholism. Many who are chronic alcoholics have prominent planets on this 25th degree of a fixed sign. The influence is especially, so this is the part that got me kind of like, whoa, trip, like what? And I'm always learning things about astrology. The influence is especially strong if Neptune is involved. So I looked and I realized that, yes, indeed, Neptune is squaring this. Yeah, they're both in fire signs, but this is a 95 degree angle between the two. So, this can be one explanation. Another thing, and I don't want to make the reading all about this. I just want to talk about this. Pluto in the 4th house. Pluto in the 4th house speaks. I have this too. It speaks about a traumatic, and I just wrote about it. It speaks about a traumatic childhood. That's all you need to know. A traumatic childhood, right? Now, it doesn't have any other, let's see here, like really difficult aspects. However, it does. So besides that, right? You have South Node, which is in the IC2. It's in Virgo at 10 degrees. But the South Node, right, which is the past life tendency, like it's kind of like the been there, done that in past lives, right? It's squared by Mars, which is the planet of violence at 6 degrees Gemini. So, there might be an astrologer in the world who could pinpoint exactly the meaning of all this, but I believe that some things don't show up exactly in the chart. They do in an indirect manner, if that makes sense. So I just want to kind of put that out there that those are some of the things I saw. Now, aside from that, and then of course, 1 second. Yeah, and then we have that square of Neptune and the IC. The IC is conjunct the South Node, right? So the IC is conjunct the South Node. So, and then the Black Moon Lilith is conjunct the IC. And then Neptune is squaring it, right? Neptune and and Venus are squaring the nodes. Why does it only say Mars? I guess it's a 10 degree orb, so I guess it is more Mars. Wait, I'm crazy. No, Neptune's squaring the IC and Venus is squaring the IC. But basically, yeah, it's difficult to find the exact cause, but what we can look at more And the thing that really stands out is this 12th house sun in Taurus conjunct Saturn. Now, 12th house, when you have your sun there, and I could write like a freaking memoir about this because there's so much to it. People talk about the house of karma, right? And Saturn has to do with tough karmic lessons, and the 12th house is it can be it's like the house of repressed energies, the house of karmic payback. Okay, I'm gonna show my face again. And in essence, where do we go? Yeah, in essence, like to have both of these together, like it basically means that your life is very much ruled by the planet Saturn, which is restrictive, and it's the planet of karma, and it's impossible to really tell exactly what that karma is. But the fact that your sun, which is the who you are, right, is conjunct Saturn in the 12th house, that's an indication of karma playing a huge role in your life, right? Saturn there, and also Mercury there. But Saturn in the 12th house is difficult on its own. But when it conjuncts the sun, it's like, it can really create some real dark energy when it's combined with that Pluto in the 4th house, right? And then that black moon Lilith there is that was just one of the potentials I saw. Now, one thing I find interesting about your chart is that there's lots of 0-degree planetary points, Jupiter, Venus, and Neptune, which and so a lot of times, and even the angles, the IC and MC. So a lot of times that can indicate like a new karmic beginning in different domains, of course. But I don't want to make this chart all about what happened. These are just some potentials, and I would implore you to watch about like on YouTube and whatever about like sun in the 12th house, Saturn in the 12th house, and just I believe we have a follow-up. In the follow-up we can maybe go more into this, and I know it is very personal, so I don't want to like really just like focus so much on this right now. The follow-up will be a time where we can really piece things together. I'm here for you. I'm the perfect guy to talk to. I don't get triggered by anything pretty much. I can hold space. But maybe it'll be better, more effective to hear your experience. But we really need to like see the rest of the chart, right? But basically, like the 12th house is like, it's like when people have 12th house energy, it's like they're almost like forced into being like of service, like they really like to undo their karma. It can be very difficult, like karmically. Not to say that it's bad karma, but it's like good, horrible things happen to good people, right? And in some cases, like this is how I've always seen, just life in general. There's two potentials. There's the potential one where it's like someone has horrible fucking karma. They've really been bad in past lives, and they get like a fucked up thing that happens in this life, right? But then there's a contrast, which is like only a very advanced soul would sign up for that fate. So for this like just tragic fate, which is shown in your chart. So this is the very important part, and I want to highlight before about this. the fact that your sun is in the 12th house, that the house that is the most involved with past lives, the most involved with karma, the most involved with ancient incarnations playing their role in this incarnation. If we want to leave it, want to get, there's way more to it. Basically, the fact that Saturn is there is just a reinforcement, being the planet of fate. And I hate to, I hope this doesn't like trigger, because I can't even imagine being in your position. But when Saturn's involved with the sun in the 12th, it means that it is the planet of fate. So it sort of is insinuating that even though these events on a human, this life level seem they are unbearable. They are the most fucked up thing I've ever heard, probably, like, or I've ever like done a reading on. But Saturn's involved, so there's still lessons around it. I know that sounds so fucking hard, and I know it doesn't help probably, but like this is just me like telling you what I see, because like that's all I can do. And just the part about how advanced souls who've reincarnated over and over and over, these are the people who decide to take on this really, really difficult karma in order for their souls to learn some important lesson. And like I said, it's either one of the two choices, right? And with Mars square the nodes, it could have been the fact, there could be something there of potentially of either being violated or having some type of anger, some type of like destruction that you put out or that you took in past lives. So it's one or the other. I don't know. I'm not a psychic, right? I can just tell you what I see from this chart. But besides that, I just want to say, like, this reading is not only about this. Like, I want to talk about your whole chart and who you are, because you are way more than what has happened to you. It doesn't define you. And I believe that everything happens is horrible as it can be. Everything, there is a reason to everything. There's a karmic reason to every single thing that happens. So it obviously is more than a bitter pill to swallow. It's horrible. And maybe in a follow-up, I can connect you to someone very, very private. You'll have to remind me, that might be able to give you some different types of answers, and it's not astrology. But you'll have to remind me. I'm very secret about that. But yeah, so basically, besides that, Saturn there, Mercury there, there is this real potential to be a very spiritual person that I see in your chart. I see that in a number of places. But mainly I see that in the fact that your North Node, right? Which in astrology, the North Node rules what we're meant, it's like our destiny, like where we're meant to climb, where we're meant to really get to in this lifetime, right? And for you, it's in Pisces, which is the most spiritual sign in astrology, because it's the last sign. Okay, let's not give a competition between Pisces and Scorpio and all these other signs, but let's just say it's the last sign, it's the cumulative sign. So to have your North Node, which is like, it's like the mountain never climbed in past lives. It's like the destiny mark, but it's so difficult for you to get there because as a Taurus South Node, that means in past lives, there's been this tendency to sort of not take risks, especially spiritual risks, right? And in this lifetime, potentially a lot of the traumatic events that could have happened may in some way be pushing you. And Sun in the 12th house is also very, very spiritual, to be, and of course right now it's going to be impossible to hear, but there's a purpose to everything, and with Pisces there, it's like it can create, spiritual leaders. 10th house, right, is your dharma. So your purpose here is very spiritual, and it's really like with the tragedies, to get in touch and to see life from a different perspective. I'll be right back. I'm still talking. I'm just getting some water. So to see life through a different perspective, to see death through a different perspective, because in our culture in the West, we're taught that and of course, like it's different when the problem, when there's pain, and these things, you don't just recover from them, right? But with the Pisces North Node in the 10th house, I believe that a lot of your, I believe that you are meant to go in a direction that is taking you probably as a very advanced soul with a great heart, that's taking you to that next step spiritually, where maybe even your life work revolves around studying death, studying esoteric subjects, right? Your moon's in the 9th house in Aquarius, so like that's already a sign. A moon Aquarius person in the 9th house has an emotional need, right, to be in, to understand the world, and to understand truth, and really like get past the BS like narratives that the modern world kind of pushes on us, of what death is, of what this and that is, right? And as an Aquarius moon, that type of person, a lot of times, like just from a psychological basis, can, they can be a bit detached emotionally, right? Obviously not in this situation with these tragedies. It's not going to be like that, but there's always, just in general, this deep yearning to understand how everything fucking works, right? That's the only way I can say it. But then there's a lot of difficulties, right, with this moon. You have the square with the sun, first of all. Your sun being in Taurus, your moon being in Aquarius. That's a very difficult. That's very difficult, right? Because that typically speaks to not always like a divorce. I have the same thing, by the way. Mine's just Pisces and Sag, and my parents are divorced. But basically, like very, very different messages that you would have received from both parents. If that makes sense. If you have to like write down like in like a, I don't know. I did this in my book, Pisces Live Nine Lives, which is I would actually encourage you, and I get like $4 for each copy I sell, so it's like I don't give a shit. I would literally like press a button if I could like have one appear in your hands. But I do talk a lot about my struggles, and then also like there's one chapter, the 4th one, which is like the most important chapter, which is about me and death, and how like me diving deeper into different philosophies, and allowing myself to actually see death from different perspective actually changed my entire life. Because I used to be, I guess, an atheist, you could say. So every time I would think about death, I would have a panic attack, and I would use substances to push it away. Basically, right? I mean, there's no other way. Like my heart would race, and it was fucked up. But in this situation, this square, the Aquarius moon wants to be very, like, from a psychological perspective. So we're kind of shifting. We're gonna go back and forth between like the very spiritual and then the psychological. Because the sun and the moon are they're the two main pillars of our psychology. So the moon, and I'm gonna have to also answer a message from a client because I didn't really plan well with time. 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. I just had to push back a session. Okay, so did she answer? No. Whatever, she's gonna have to wait a little bit longer. But yeah, so the Aquarius moon, what it wants is it wants to be different. It wants to find this philosophy. It can be a little bit like emotionally detached at times. Like Aquarius moons are famous for being able to like not feel like the emotional kind of like what like I guess you could say like the emotional like pushback of an event until like my former friend, his sister died. She got killed by in a car accident, and he like my mom said that at the funeral he was like he just looked like unaffected, and obviously that's not you. He's trying to talk about how fucked up he is, but like the point is that's like an Aquarius thing, is like they want to individualize, they want to be different. Now Taurus suns typically, but it is conjunct Saturn in the 12th house, and genuinely they want to be they like things to be the same, which goes along with your south node. So there's this thing in your chart where like part of you is really wanting to stay the same, right? Which is this is your past like tendency, right? Like to not take enough risks. So in this life, events happen that force you to take risks, that force you to move out of your comfort zone, where you're like, fuck this shit. I'm not staying, like, I'm not like that, like, a prime example of of Taurus energy at the low Taurus energy is in the 12th house. So this would indicate it, right? Conjunct Saturn is like the person that stays in their hometown, like they like forever with the same friends. They don't allow themselves to like have a potentially better life because they're happy with what's comfortable, but it just doesn't lead to growth. So it can lead to stagnancy. So potentially, and I'm so sorry if like I just have to fucking say this how I'm saying it. Like potentially what's happened to you, and I know there's probably been other things too, could have been fated in the sense that that they push one to force the change. I know, yeah. So that's that. But yeah, with the Taurus 12th house, I mean, what else can you say besides one part of you being very solid, very reliable, very, it's very happy energy, Taurus, right? Honest, reliable, all these things about your sun sign. But then the 12th house, it's like there's a lot of karma there. And with the south node being in Taurus too, this could totally indicate that this is really pulling you towards the spiritual energy. With 10 degrees Pisces, your part of fortune's there, your midheaven, all that stuff. So it is moving one towards a spiritual direction. Now, when we talk about the fact that Saturn's there just by itself, Saturn in the 12th house is fucking hard because it makes one really, really afraid of like hidden forces, of things like the esoteric, or things of like subjects similar to all this stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like anything hidden, they're very afraid of. So like there's this deep need for like, and this is what I would say to anyone that has a 12th house Saturn. I always tell them like, it's once again about taking risks, but it's also about like not, I can't say this to you right now though, because like it doesn't make sense and it doesn't work in this context. But if you like, let's say I just got your chart, I never like knew anything about you, which is usually how it is. I would say like they need to learn to kind of just like not to see the cosmic, not the cosmic joke, but just like see everything zoomed out and see how and expand spiritually and have, and this does not convene to you, but this is like I was saying, like having a sense of humor about things. And yeah, the fears can be really, really difficult with the 12th house Saturn, right? Fear of the unknown, fear of what they can't see, phobias, stuff like that, right? That can really, really plague the individual. Let me open up my notes a little bit here. Yes, it's one of the most difficult placements someone can have. 12th house rules fears, so the presence can induce quite a lot of them. So like, and then the fact that this is conjunct your sun, this is actually like a huge part of your life. So Saturn has a rather cold and restrictive energy, which can lead the person to self-limitation, afraid to dream frequently, which in turn leads to despair and melancholy. Many times, the Saturn's pessimism isn't actually it is Saturn's pessimism that actually keeps the individual away from achieving the inner wishes. The 12th house is responsible for the last 2 hours before birth, and Saturn's presence may indicate a lot of pressure in the mother's womb. There could have been like a tragic birth incident. So aside from that, let's see. So yeah, it's result of unconscious worries and guilt. Tendencies to feel responsible about things that they should not feel responsible for, blaming themselves for something that doesn't go as it should. So this is very, very important, right? In the context of what happens, many people, when things like this happen, they blame themselves. What could I have done? What role was it my fault? And that is a complete Saturn in the 12th house. Like if something tragic happens, they will think about that. Like that there'll be a tendency of like was it me? Like what could I like and they'll put that shame on them when really it wasn't them at all, right? So anxiety and melancholy may appear without apparent reasons, and Saturn places borders in self-expression. And native may actually not talk about their deeper thoughts to anyone and suffer in solitude. In addition, he will frequently hide such behaviors, or she will frequently hide such behaviors in a desperate attempt to appear well in other people's eyes. This placement can even create a person that subconsciously enjoys their own suffering, does not open towards others. That can help them lose it. There can be hidden enemies, usually older people. And yeah, the best advice is stop taking life so seriously. Fear can be the only wall standing between a human and their happiness. So if you have this, try to be honest with yourself about your life path. Do you really want to be happy, or do you enjoy your seclusion? Do you really want to get rid of the fears, or are they a comfortable excuse to continue the antisocial patterns? Being a solitary person is not something negative by itself, yet experiencing the burden of self-martyrdom is not the wisest choice. Wear a smile on yourself and understand that it is in your hands to change your everyday reality moment by moment. Learn to accept the daily small pleasures that life grants you, as it does everyone, no matter how difficult or easy life is. So I know that last part is impossible at this current time. I just am reading this because like this is how I do readings. I know this is like the first reading in forever where I've like actually known something about the person. So yeah. Okay, I was looking for something. Yeah, so aside from that, 12th house people, they tend to have to really to deal with with like fucked up shit, fucked up karma. But then also there's great gifts to having, once you can get past that Saturn energy, right? There's great gifts here. With the placement of the Mercury here, there can be like an ability to communicate with the other side, right? So this can be some, life doesn't work in this like rational way that we're taught. It works like even like the worst thing ever can end up being something in the long, like I'm talking like lifetime, like when you look at like every lifetime you've ever had, it can end up being something that pushes the soul forward, which is the point of life. Which is obviously difficult to say. But I see someone who is here for a very special reason, who has literally potential psychic abilities that might be dormant. And yeah, I just see this North Node in Pisces just like it's asking you, like, come on, come to the mystical side of the world, and like healing, like imagination, mysticism, you know, that like real true understanding. And maybe this is like what, you know, you've done, or maybe your life will start to take a shift into that direction. I'm very, very sorry for everything that's happened. So then you have, you know, Venus obviously at 0 degrees Gemini, and you know, it's opposite Neptune at 0 degrees Sag in the 7th house. So this is an interesting one when it relates to self-love, because Venus is about self-love and love itself, and a lot of other things, beauty, arts, all that. So this would make you really, really, on one hand, it's going to make you super fucking creative, where you have the ability to be like an artist and also have the imagination and to see like the inspiration, imagination, and also the ability to like put pen to paper. But in love life, it can create lots of, like, especially when younger, it can create lots of confusion and fog over like understanding yourself and seeing yourself clearly, which can then manifest in ways that are very difficult. Where you might, like, for example, in relationship, think someone has a completely different opinion of you than they really do. And you know, the fact that Neptune's there on the seventh house cusp, even though it's like, you know, beneath the descendant, it's still, you know, to me, it still indicates energy related to rose-colored glasses in the domain of love, and lessons that need to be learned in relation to kind of like the search for the perfect partner over idealism, stuff of that nature, right? It squared the IC, so you know, that's an interesting T square right there that goes out at 0 on your midheaven. So it's, yeah, sine of T square. And basically, like, the way I look at that is that, you know, another karmic thing for you is this balance between the spiritual world and the material world. And I believe that in past lives, and maybe even this life, there's been too much of an emphasis on the material world, right? Shown by the South Node in Virgo. And we're, you know, Virgo South Node, there can be like potentially like excessive, and I'm not talking about just right now, I'm just saying in general, like obsession, like worrying, obsessive compulsive kind of like energy about like where there's not enough compassion, where there's not enough faith, that everything, faith and oneness, right? So that's like what I think this chart is asking you for, especially with 12th house sun. That's like, you know, like very mystical. And there's a quote that's like, the mystic and the addict swim, or the exist in the same waters. The mystic just learns to swim in them while the addict drowns. And there's no better quote for your chart with that Neptunian energy, right? With that 12th house energy. Piscean, 12th house, Neptune, all the same thing. It's in your chart. So it's really, really like kind of pushing you towards that. But of course, in life, it's like there's times where we all know about the process of grief and the healing that it takes, and it doesn't it's not going to be like one astrologer saying these things, like, yeah, maybe it can help put it in perspective, but it's all about the healing. But really, what happens with South Node Virgo is that there could be like a tendency to rigidity in structure, and or like everything, like a certain like cleanliness on many different levels, like obsession, right? They're also judgmental, and it blocks one's understanding of oneness with the universe, right? So there's this big need with the Pisces or Pisces North Node to develop spiritual understanding and to learn to rely on your intuition, right? So this can really be aided by your Jupiter. And also, before I get into that, the fact that South Node's in the 4th house and North Node's in the 10th house, that's another imbalance between inner life, outer life, career, home life, feminine, masculine. So it's like balancing those two axes are really asking to be balanced. But I definitely see this, just right off the bat, this past life tendency, which I will mention again and again, of not taking enough risks. And when I mean risks, I'm talking purely about spiritual risks that push you. Like, let me think of a fucking example. Like, okay, let's say like there's some type of like retreat or something, or you see some kind of amazing teacher, or maybe like even you want to do like like I do astrological therapy. Just a random example that came to me. I'm not marketing my practice, but like or anything, or learning some type of occult, mystical thing, something that's just always been interesting to you, but you haven't done. Breaking free of the status quo, which your Aquarius moon is asking you to do that. But the Taurus sun is like, fuck that. I want things to stay solid. So there's that jigsaw, that back and forth, the jigsaw. It's a seesaw in English, Jesse. Between like, stay the same, be different. And usually what happens with the squares is that there needs to be some kind of compromise, but oftentimes, what can happen is that one dominates, right? So I'm curious, like how you handle that square, But yeah, with so that's kind of like really the karmic stuff I see. Saturn, okay, talk Saturn, 12th house. I'm kind of going opposite direction with this reading, just because it is a very distinct one. So yeah, Venus or Neptune ruling the 7th house, or Sag ruling the 7th house, and which is conjunct Jupiter in the 6th, and it's gonna, in terms of relationships, like I already said, there's a search for perfection in intimate relationships. There can be a disillusionment with imperfect partners, and there's this real desire to attract spiritual unions. Now, also ruled by Jupiter, which is in the 6th house in Scorpio. This is a really, really strong placement for someone who can see through bullshit. Vertex is there too. I would say that Jupiter at 0 degrees, 6th house, it's like a new karmic beginning as it relates to the Jupiter, which is like about finding truth, about expanding in Scorpio. So it's like there's some newness there, right? In terms of like this mystical energy, and it's really asking you to kind of Scorpio is what, like psychology, esoteric, occult, like even death, like studies of life after death, really trying to find the real origin. So it kind of does relate to it, but also in the 6th house, that's about being of service to humanity. That's about making sure that your mental, physical health, routine, all that stuff is dialed in, right? Which is, yeah, it's very, very important. Aside from that, you know, Jupiter and Scorpio, Jupiter is the teacher, it's the searcher, it's the seeker. So in Scorpio, it puts one on this very intense search for truth within themselves, within their own shadow. And when they really open up their own shadow, when they really like allow themselves to go deep within themselves, they're able to really help other people out, right? And they can be a very transformative teacher. And yeah, Vertex and Scorpio too is once again kind of this, saying that the doorway to higher awareness is through service, and you know, help, you know, just service to others where you're not thinking about what you can gain or anything like that. You know, just selfless service to others, and done so in a manner that is in line with Scorpio, which often brings very, very intense experiences. You know, Scorpio represents death, rebirth, and transformation. And yeah, I want to look at one thing really quick. Okay, so yeah, that's I was just like trying to see if I saw anything like big for the current astrology. That's like a completely different reading. This is like the book of your life. The current astrology is kind of like what's happening now. If you're interested in that one, it's like a live reading. Like unlike this one, that one's like a live one, but no need to talk about that now. So having Venus conjunct Mars. So I'll talk a little bit about love stuff. I know it's probably not like, and then also your ascendant. Okay, so what does your ascendant do? Your ascendant is in Gemini. So Gemini rising is a very fortunate ascendant. It makes one even when they're older, like physically appear younger, which is awesome. And you know, that makes them very social. So it goes really, really well with your Aquarius moon. And they're very, you know, they love to communicate with friends. They love to communicate with the world around them. And the fact that you have and very, very curious, social butterfly. But there's this energy in your first house that typically makes someone like very, very curious, but they can also be very, very easily bored, right? And in this situation, it could be, yeah, like with Venus and Mars together, typically that's strong. Like it makes someone very, very involved with love. Like they're very relationship oriented. And also, you know, even though you do have Neptune there, the fact that your seventh house is ruled by Sag, which is ruled by Jupiter, would indicate some type of luck when it comes to the right types of partners. But Venus, and you know, it's going to be you'll look for someone who is definitely maybe a little bit more eccentric, a little bit more, who can really, and what's the trine? It's with, yeah, so it's opposite Neptune and then trine Pluto and Uranus, like right in the middle of the two. So it's like a midpoint. Okay, so like, yeah, there has to be like a level of freedom in your relationships, or it's not going to work. Cleanness, not going to work, especially as an Aquarius moon. And I think spirituality would be, you know, something like something where there's where you cannot be with someone where it's like you don't have like an intellectual connection with them, basically, right? And that goes for the Mars and the Venus. So yeah, very, very relationship oriented. Venus in Gemini, they're the people who are infamous for kind of being like, you know, they can be bored very easily. They can be the types of people that like they'll start dating someone just because they're curious about that person, not necessarily because they're like super attracted to them. And they can be gone very quickly if that person doesn't like feed their mind, feed their brain. You know, they want to learn. They want to experience life, and it makes someone who loves reading, loves writing, loves all things like loves communicating. So you're definitely a communicator. Mars doubles down on that. Mars and Gemini people, I've had like 4 in a row now, I think, which is interesting. You know, they use words. Their weapons are their words. Like they are wordsmiths. They can be lawyers. They're the type of people that you don't want to argue with, and they love to, you know, initiate ideas, spread information. And you know, Mars in the first house gives a strong drive for self-expression and independence. So this whole first house with Gemini, it's like it does make someone very, very independent. And if the path is blocked, they can be very rash. Venus there, it makes you really want to express. So that's very, very good for physical attraction, but also having like a very beautiful aura. So it makes people attracted to you, and it's very good for popularity. With a very calm, harmonious demeanor, even in a sign like Gemini, which can be a little bit all over the place. Venus there can calm that energy down. But yeah, it's very flirtatious. Venus and Gemini is known for being very flirtatious. As I said, exchange of ideas is very important. And they can be very restless and get very bored, and that's not. And also, it's very good for like having very like lots of like very entrepreneurial, like lots of like money making. What I've noticed about lots of people that have this conjunction of Venus and Mars, I have this too in Aquarius, which is actually very, very, very close to yours, is that they can be very entrepreneurial people. Like I'm super entrepreneurial. They don't really like to be told what to do. Now, relating to your midheaven, right, which would be more about your dharma, what you're here to do. I already talked about how, like, you know, it's not just career. My cat wants me to play fetch with him. But in Pisces, you know, ruled by Neptune, you know, Neptune being in the 7th house, you know, 7th house is partnerships, like romantic, but also like business partnerships. So that could play a huge role in your career life. You could be the kind of person that's like a therapist, like a family marriage counselor, that type of thing. But yeah, just in general, midheaven in Pisces, you know, it's going to make someone who wants to ultimately have their life and their big picture public life, like who they are, the mark they leave. I guess like kind of what they, you know, what they really do in their life, be based on high spirituality and oneness and finding that. So it's like a spiritual quest within yourself that potentially, like, you've started already, potentially, you know, it's going to take time, but it's like, you know, I feel that really, really deeply for you. And even further, you know, when we see Juno in part of fortune in that same house, same sign, you know, Juno, that kind of goes further with this love energy of this need to have like your ideal mate is, it's actually funny because it's exactly my sun sign, my sun degree. So it's like literally me. I'm joking, not me, just my sun, like my Pisces 28-degree sun, which is high mysticism and spirituality. But also like obviously like not a lot of men are like that. So it can just be like an extremely compassionate person, who can help give you some perspective, a different perspective, right? Which your moon, your emotional need, right? 9th house in Aquarius, that has romantic implications too. So that's going to make someone who is going to want to be with someone that's different a little bit, and that's totally with the Venus and Mars energy too, in the air sign of Gemini. So you're really not going to be like a conformist in any way, shape, or form as it relates, especially to relationships. So what was I looking at? Okay, so then, you know, the ascendant. What else can I say about that? Yeah, you know, it's mutable, so it gives like a lot of versatility, flexibility, adaptability. There can be this also one thing with Gemini energy, it can make one very restless. So Gemini rules the hands, so like playing guitar, anything, video games, something with a computer, anything that uses your fingers and your hands, can really be good, right? But yeah, so Gemini energy, like, it tends to be very good with going with the flow, but then, you know, of course, your sun and your moon are fixed. So that's gonna kind of create this difficult energy where part of you is like very like let's just get up and go, and the other part might be more traditional, more like, no, let's stick to what we know. Let's not take these risks, which is a huge thing I see in your chart. So Uranus in the 5th house, Uranus is an outer planet also, so it's not really ruling a the outer planets, by the way, are Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. I say them all. And you could Chiron's in there. It's not a planet, but basically is. And yeah, Uranus in the 5th, it's going to create an energy where I think it's super, super creative, especially, in Libra. I mean, that generation really wanted to break down the old form of relationships and introduce a new form. And it can also be like, yeah, like it's very generational, the sign, but basically like the house placement is just like, Uranus in the 5th, they are very, very futuristic when it comes to their creativity. They have an ability to undertake very original, creative, like very Aquarian, like your moon sign. So it's interesting. Your moon is ruled by a planet Uranus in the 5th. So potentially there might be a link between your emotional needs and your ability to create. And there also might be lots of, this is a very big thing, emotional healing that can come from when you're allowing yourself to create. Like hobbies, creative pursuits, and they're going to be eccentric and unconventional ones. And also yeah. And just, I know it's like, I don't want to say the word, but like this is the reading. Uranus in the 5th house. 5th house rules children. So typically people who have Uranus in the 5th house, if they have children, they will be very, very individualistic, kind of Aquarian, kind of different types of kid. Like, just very beats to the beat of their own drum. Non-traditional, all that kind of stuff. So that's that. But yeah, the moon, there's lots of interesting energy here. The square Saturn, the square with Jupiter. Square Jupiter is not that big of a deal. It's just like you have to kind of watch out for being overly expansive in life. But Jupiter doesn't really make tough aspects. It's a very benefic planet, just like Venus. But the tough one there is Saturn square Moon, just like Sun square Moon. So this energy can create someone who, on one hand, is very, very secretive, right? That's another thing about the Sun in the 12th house. It can create lots of secrets and lots of karma. It's a way to think about the 12th house is like, it's like that drawer, that people like just like throw all their shit into, and accumulates through past lives. And in this life, you've decided to take on a bunch of really, really intense karma, as you've known. And with Saturn there, it just quadruples down on that. But Saturn square the moon, that can indicate a difficult relationship with the mother. The mother could have, if the mother, there could be a difficult relationship with both parents, honestly. But with the mother, it could indicate if the mother is the moon, which it's the least dominant parent, it's not always the moon. Caught a cat. It can indicate like someone who can be very emotionally timid. Maybe they didn't get their emotional needs met by their mother. And they can have issues with vulnerability, issues with just letting their emotions out in an authentic way, and be quite shy. They can be prone to depression, even if it is Moon in Aquarius, which is typically less engaged with that realm. But yeah, so that's kind of what I see there. Sun, we didn't really have. We just had the conjunction with Saturn. So this is just like what I'm saying to you is that the two most important parts of your chart, Sun and Moon, are both in major aspects with Saturn. Saturn, the planet of karma. I would suggest learning about Saturn, what Saturn means in astrology. We can talk about it more and more, but there's different YouTube videos, different like articles, just understanding like the archetypal meaning of Saturn, because it's here to teach. And I always say that Saturn is like the teacher that we hated when we were like in elementary school or high school or whatever, but in the end, in some unforeseen way, they wanted what was best for us, right? And that right there could really be, you know, what's happening is that Saturn's is that in this lifetime you're taking on a bunch of karma. Maybe it's like one of your last incarnations. Who knows, right? It's tough to tell. And once again, I told you to speak to me about someone that I can get you in contact with that I don't speak about openly. So then, Mercury being in Taurus, opposite Neptune. We talked. I didn't talk about that. That creates an energy of like, of confusion, and at its best, it kind of goes with the Venus opposite Neptune thing, where it's like there is this real mysticism, this real ability to kind of communicate with the other side, to channel energies, which is like linked to your North Node, like North Node, aka your highest energy in this lifetime. But there can be lots of misunderstandings. There can be paranoia. There can be like this real like difference between like the real reality and how you conceive it, how you feel it. So once you can really ground yourself, you can be someone who can be like an actual channel. Like it's very, very strong energy. So I talked about that. You'll look for partners that are very unboring, and can there's this spiritual dimension, but there's also this real depth, this real positive transformational aspect to it. Maybe something that's challenging in a healthy way, psychologically challenging. Okay. So yeah, that Mars square, to me, I always look at that as like a Mars square, the nodes. To me, it's just like we can bust open a book. Let's see if I find the page right away. Because like squares to the nodes of the moon speak about skip steps in past lives. Is this it? So I like to read out of this sometimes. But where the fuck is this? Oh, and also before I didn't mention, that your chart lacks any fire whatsoever in terms of like inner planets, and does it have water? Jupiter only, really. So yeah, lacking fire and water. When you lack water, it can make one kind of lack the ability to like really like be in touch, which your North Node is asking you, like being in touch with the collective, being in touch with like the emotional side. It can make one more aloof. So it's really like karma is really asking you to do whatever you can do to get more in touch with your emotions, whether it's through like yoga, therapy, whatever healing is necessary to really feel the emotions, because there can definitely be a suppression with this energy. Lacking of fire can have to do with like lacking that passion, that starting, that just like the ability to kind of just like, boom, I'm starting this. And that comes from your Chiron, which is, speaking about your pain in Aries, which people that have Chiron in Aries, they tend to have issues around the I can do it third chakra, right? Where it's like they at some point in their life, there's something that maybe was violated in the sense of you feeling like you're able to do it. And you understand when I say do it, like just like overall confidence, like self-starting and stuff like that. With that said, you do have a Gemini, which is a rising, which is a masculine energy, but it's still important when you're lacking fire and lacking water to do things that can like remedy those. So lacking fire, it's like pushing yourself to kind of be, what the hell is this thing? To be more assertive and to not like to not allow yourself to be pushed around and to understand. Okay, I found it finally. 147. To try to push yourself to try new things, right? Which is exactly what the chart was saying about the Taurus South Node, right? Like lacking fire, try new things. But I think it all goes up to that North Node in Pisces. It's like the big part of this chart. And then the moon really wants to learn, really wants to understand and try things from different cultures and different worldviews, and then kind of combine them together. Okay, so Mars square, is that the only square? Venus kinda, Neptune kinda. What orbs do they use? Okay, I'll say Mars. Yeah. So in Mars, wait, hold up 1 second. Yeah, we can say Venus too because it's playing in the 7th house. Neptune. Yeah. Okay. So in Mars, squares the moon's nodes, the nature of the unresolved karmic material pertains to the nature of desire and the instinctual will. The range of possibilities here include unresolved anger, unresolved sexual feelings, and physical or sexual violence. Anger with or from others could be threatening to stability, just as hidden anger could also be at play. Its passive toxicity being part of the problem. Displacement can signify situations whereby the will has become co-opted in some fashion and the person is overly compliant or lost. We could also see a situation in which excessive dominance has distorted the soul's original intention. This can indicate an unmet need for independence, which can be seen as a source of suppressed anger, but the unmet need can also express as a source of paradox in a relationship, whereby the freedom to grow with another is desired, but a subconscious fear of entrapment prevents this need being fulfilled meaningfully. All right. So then, with the Venus, it talks about unresolved material pertaining to how a person relates to themselves and therefore the way they relate to others. The range of possibilities, and I already talked about this before, can extend from extremes of isolations to excessive social activity that leads to a loss of identity through exhaustion. This can indicate an issue with projected meaning or not seeing the true reality of others due to our transference onto them, which I already talked about too with that Mercury. We might transfer unresolved issues onto our partners and friends, co-opting them to play roles in our inner drama. This can also refer to a life-threatening situation whereby the self has become highly anxious, causing a great difficulty in relating to its own needs. It can indicate a situation whereby the person needs to learn to be alone, to love and accept themselves before being able to meet others on an equal footing. Now, I'm going to say the Neptune one, I just have, because it's conjunct the IC also, I feel like it's important, and it does relate to like the Pisces North Node. So when Neptune is square to the moon's nodes, the unresolved, but this one isn't as like close as the Mars one, and then second place would be the Venus one. So the unresolved material pertains to the subtle issues of one's sense of ultimate meaning, one's dreams and ideals. The skip step can therefore revolve around the loss of meaning, profound disillusionment or despair that leads to loss of life force and will. In some cases, the negative ramifications are so extreme as to lead to catatonic dissociation. The Neptune skip step may also represent an unresolved dream or ideal that the person has suppressed or been unable to fulfill in past lives. And now it demands exploration, which literally, like Taurus, South and stuff, completely goes with that. Analysis of the evolutionary axis, which I talked about already, which is like the Taurus part, will illustrate the nature of these unfulfilled dreams and aspirations, which is literally having mystical, spiritual aspirations. Explorations of such themes can involve distinguishing whether or not such dreams need to be physically realized or can exist solely as fantasies fulfilled in imagination. The necessary discrimination required here is difficult to attain because the skip step involves a struggle to clarify the difference between the personal fantasy and objective reality. This placement can lead to a spiritual crisis and transformation. Just as easily, this placement points to someone who has lost their spiritual way, who now wanders meaninglessly in cycles of despair and perhaps is compensating for the loss. One sec. Who has been exposed to physical attack. What the heck? Where is it? Okay, this is placement someone who has lost their spiritual despair and perhaps is compensating for the loss with drug addiction or other similarly self-abnegating behaviors. In rare cases, the skip step can indicate someone who has been exposed to a psychic attack of some kind, someone who has been possessed by unconscious or astral forces, but because of the possibility for distortion via fantasy and delusion reflected by this placement, this can be an especially problematic case to work with. So that definitely adds details. Okay, 1 second. Hold on. I have a client that I'm already late for. Okay. Very good, very good, very good. Sec. Hold on, hold on. Okay, so yeah, basically, and I also want to look at okay, so I've gone over everything. So yeah, Black Moon Lilith, we talked about that being at 25 Leo. I mean, the question, does that, because it's not a planet, really affect the tragedy? I don't know the answer to that. All I can tell you is that the fact that Saturn is in the 12th house conjunct the sun, square the moon, to me, that's the big boy. Meaning big boy, meaning like that's really what I see being like the big force. Black Moon Lilith, I think of it as like when we let ourselves go, like kind of what comes out, like what our like kind of dark side is. So being at 25 Leo, I mean it could relate to like I said before, like the violence thing. But just Leo in general, there can be a real fear of change, right? Because Leo represents the ego, and the position that one achieves is so important to them because the ego and the self-esteem is so linked to it, right? So integration from this comes from understanding that change is growth, and maybe one can't always be like the leader, number one, but it's important to bring other people up, basically, and you feel great about yourself when you do this. I have allergies. So yeah, and then in the third house, there could be some issues. I don't think so you have issues with your I don't know if you have multiple siblings, but like, with communication, which I saw before with the Chiron up there and the Mercury opposite Neptune, there could have been some issues with you and finding your voice, and I need to really dial in with the throat chakra. So before I finish, I want to just like see what's going on. If I see any fixed stars. I'm already running late, but this is a very, very important reading for me. So let's just go ahead and see one by one. So let's start with 7-11. Okay, so Hamal and Shadir are conjunct your sun. Hamal is let's see how yeah, it actually has to do with like violence, cruelty, crime, even brutishness. So yeah, it's actually a really, really difficult fixed star to have on your sun. So yeah, wow, this is actually speaking deeper, like about danger, like actual physical danger. So let's see what it says with the sun. Yeah, it says lost and like loss and disgrace, dissipation, evil associates. Where the fuck? This is not like, you know, where it's at with that. I think I had Hamal open. Okay, so let's see what it says. Hamal. It indicates a certain independence and strength of will. This can manifest as the simple but useful ability to be focused and direct, or it could be expressed as temper or frustration, the ability to deal with authority figures within the family or the career. So yeah, still difficult to understand all of that, make sense of all of that. Shadir, which I don't know much about. I'm just getting more and more into these. Okay, so let's see. Yes, this one actually speaks about like a potential like demonic energy. It says it can be very immoral, shameless, revolting, mean, sorrows, and love if rising. Okay. But let's see if it has any information on the sun. It gives nothing. But it's very similar to Hamal. Also, it can be very good for leadership. But watching out for letting it get to one's head. It can make one who makes jewelry and who earns their living from the arts, craftsman. So aside from that, 24. El Hecka. Let's actually flash. Flash these. Okay, let's see if I just see any of these. Okay, yeah. Okay, no, wait, no. Close to having Aldebaran conjunct. Okay, I don't see anything here. Nothing there, nothing there. You have the galactic center conjunct your descendant. That's going to make someone who really, really wants to have a spiritual union, as I said before. It can also be very, very good for psychic ability and make like kind of like the middle stage of your life very, very based on spirituality and finding truth, which goes along perfectly with what I've said. The fact that your sun moon midpoint conjunction your part of fortune in Pisces at 21 degrees is just let's see if there's anything at 21 degrees. It's basically just saying that like the way to really like fuse together that moon and sun is through that Pisces energy. Pisces is the key to your chart. So studying that sign Pisces and the highest meaning of Pisces is super important. Pisces/Neptune. Okay, so I don't really see anything else, but I still want to look up zero Pisces, 0 Virgo. Where that should go. Okay, so Fedka, which rules? Okay, the IC. Yeah, but it's very far from the ecliptic, so I can't really tell if it's actually like where it was on the horizon. So yeah, we don't really know enough information on this one. Yeah, it says it's not felt very much, so we can kind of ignore that one. Then you have El Heka rising, which has to do with wealth, the star, wealth, power, courage, generosity, ingenuity, rise to authority, martial success, subject to cuts, wounds, accidents, sores, and injuries to the face, pains in the head, and the fevers. Okay. So 7 degrees. Nothing about that. Okay, so moving on. We see here, hold on. Okay, so yeah, there's not really much going on with these fixed stars. 25 Virgo. Nothing really there. Okay. And then midheaven. Okay, we looked at that. 5 Aquarius, the moon. I don't think I saw anything there. Nope. And finally, yeah. So that's pretty much it. I hope I hope this, helped in some way. I know like there's only so much I can do as, giving you a birth chart reading. Typically like the birth chart reading, I know nothing about the client, and I just say what I see. But this was obviously a little bit different. So we'll be able to talk more in a follow-up about specifics or whatever you're willing to talk about. But I send my truest, deepest condolences to you. And if there's anything I can do to help you, any questions you might have, just like, anything, like even if it's not about astrology, like I'm a mystic as well. Like I mean, like I think I can call myself a mystic. Fuck's sake, like if I can't, like what the fuck. But like, I'm very philosophical. I'm mystical and philosophical. Like I'm not just like studying astrology. Like I'm very much involved with the big picture and different theories about life, death, and all that stuff. So it could be a synchronicity. Who knows? I just hope I can help you in some way. I also understand I do have 2 master's degrees in psychology, so I understand, how grief works. And I just, wish you just everything that's possibly good. And with that said, I will end this recording and we will talk soon. I don't know if you follow me on Instagram, or if you have Instagram, it's Jesse Innocent Astro. I post a lot of stuff on there, and you can just message me on there to set up the follow-up. But if you want to go through your sister, that's totally cool too. So much love. Talk soon.